My ex cheated and secretly took money from me, so I exposed him to his family and got my money back. I'm a 29F, and my now ex-boyfriend, Tom, 31M, had been together for 3 years. We lived together in a small apartment and even had a joint bank account for shared expenses. More on that later. I thought we were happy, or at least content doing the regular day-to-day partnership thing. Sure, we had our fights and rough patches, but nothing that rang alarm bells. That is, until a couple months ago when I noticed Tom becoming very secretive with his phone. The guy who used to play Wordle with me every night on the couch suddenly started tilting his screen away, or taking calls in the other room with the door closed. At first, I chalked it up to maybe planning a surprise for me. Our anniversary was coming up, and I can be hopelessly optimistic, or just in denial. Then came the late nights, at work. Tom's job sometimes required overtime, but he'd always text if he was staying late. Suddenly, texts like, "Working late, don't wait up," became a norm. He was also weirdly low on cash all the time, asking me to cover more of our shared expenses, just until I get paid. In hindsight, so many red flags, but love, or routine, blinds you, I guess. The big clue smacked me in the face one Saturday. Tom was out running errands. Another new habit that seemed to coincide with me noticing his odd behavior. I was doing laundry and a receipt fell out of one of his crumpled pant pockets. It was from a fancy restaurant downtown, a place we'd talked about going together but never did because it was pricey. The receipt was for 2 people and included a charge for an expensive bottle of wine. It was dated 2 nights prior, when Tom was supposedly working late, and I ate ramen alone on the couch. My heart sank and my blood boiled at the same time. I tucked the receipt away and decided not to confront him just yet. Instead, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went full detective mode. That evening, after he went to sleep, snoring like a baby while I felt like I was dying inside, I gently took his phone from the nightstand. We both knew each other's passcodes for ages. Trust, right? He hadn't thought to change it. I unlocked it and went straight to his messages. I felt like I was in some bad made-for-TV drama. There it was. A chat with a saved contact under a guy's name, but the conversation was very clearly not between 2 bros. Flirty texts, heart emojis, and then I saw a photo that made my stomach turn. Tom, shirtless in our bedroom, clearly posing for this person. I had to scroll a bit to confirm, but sure enough, Jason, work, was actually Jessica, some girl from his office I'd met at a happy hour once. I remembered her because she had a laugh like a hyena and wore a neon pink blazer, hard to forget. The texts were explicit and gushy. They'd been seeing each other for at least 6 months, if I had to guess from the history. Jessica was apparently pushing him to leave me, and he was stringing her along with promises that he'd, quote, handle it soon. I quietly took out my phone and snapped screenshots of everything. The texts, the photos, even their gross pet names for each other. Barf. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped his phone, but I managed to put it back and slink off to the bathroom, where I promptly threw up. The betrayal was physical. I didn't confront him the next day, or the day after, partly because I was in shock, partly because I wanted a plan. That's where the money part comes in. See, the more I stewed on it, the more I recalled those weird times he was short on cash. We had a system. Each of us put money into our joint account for rent and bills. We kept our personal accounts for other stuff. I handled the rent and utilities from the joint account because I'm a bit more financially organized, but he had access to it too. I started going through our bank statements with a fine-tooth comb. It wasn't obvious at first, but eventually I found it. Transfers from our joint account to his personal account that I didn't make. They were in weird small amounts, like $50 here, $120 there, sometimes labeled as things like groceries or apartment repair in the memo. Totaled up, it was nearly $2,000 over the past year. The bastard was siphoning money from our joint account, my money, to presumably wine and dine Jessica. And I've been none the wiser because I trusted him to also use that account for legitimate things. I was livid. Beyond livid. It's like the cheating wasn't enough. He had to literally steal from me too? I decided I wasn't going to confront him until I had concrete ways to protect myself and get back what I was owed, and maybe make him pay in other ways. First step, I quietly opened a new bank account in my name only. Then I changed my direct deposit at work to go to that new account. I did not want him accessing any more of my money when the shit hit the fan. Next, I put a halt on my contributions to the joint account, which, by the way, he never noticed. Probably because he was flush with Jessica's attention, and possibly her money too, who knows. There was enough in there to cover 1 more month of rent, which I planned to use, and after that, I would cut him off. Next, I started collecting evidence and allies. I'm generally on good terms with Tom's family. We're not super close, but we do holiday dinners together, and I liked him. I especially was friendly with his mom, Karen. Yes, her real name. And ironically, she's the nicest lady, not at all like the meme. I knew that if I was going to drop a bomb, that their golden child was a cheating, thieving jerk, I needed indisputable proof and maybe a dramatic delivery. Here's where a bit of creative revenge sparkled into existence. I remembered that last year, Tom's younger sister had a wedding website, and they'd put up all these cute photos and stories about the couple. It gave me an idea, a terribly, beautifully petty idea. I decided to make a little expose website of my own. I'm not a super tech wizard, but I know enough basic HTML and stuff to throw together a simple private web page. I made one. Not live on Google or anything, just for those who had the link. On this page, I laid out a narrative of our relationship with highlights, aka evidence of Tom's betrayal. I scanned through 3 years of photos and found ones of us together on key dates, our anniversaries, vacations, etc., and interspersed them with screenshots of his texts with Jessica from those same time frames. I titled sections like Our Third Anniversary. While my name believed they were celebrating love, Tom was planning a secret trip with Jessica, followed by the receipts or messages from that period. I had another section called Building a Future, or Funding Someone Else, where I showed the money transfers and the matching expensive dinners or jewelry I noticed on her credit card. Yes, there was a bracelet purchase on there I never received. It was painstaking work, and in some ways torturous to compile, but it also steeled my resolve. By the end of it, I had a pretty damning website set up. I made sure to include a final section with a very calm note from me, addressing Tom's family directly, basically saying, "I'm sorry you have to see this, but I thought you should know what he's done. Ask him about the money if you doubt me. I'll be pursuing getting that back. I loved your son, but I can't forgive this." Now, I know some of you are thinking this is way over the top, and maybe it was. But in the moment, I felt righteous. This man had humiliated me, endangered our financial security, and wasted my time. I wanted some semblance of justice. The confrontation went down about a week later. I timed it for a Friday evening, because I figured if things blew up big, I didn't want to have work the next day. That night, I invited Tom's parents and sister over to our apartment without telling him. I told them I had a big announcement and wanted to surprise Tom as well. In hindsight, that sounds a bit ominous, but I played it off as maybe we were getting engaged or something, and they bought it. They were excited. So picture this. Tom walks in after working late, I suspect he was with Jessica, to find his mom, dad, and sister sitting in our living room along with me. There's also a packed suitcase by the door. My suitcase. He looks confused as hell. His dad, a jovial guy, even claps him on the back like, "Son, big night, huh?" Because they too were in the dark about the exact reason. Tom looks at me questioningly, probably wondering if this is an intervention or a surprise party or what. I take a deep breath, heart hammering, and I say, "Tom, I know. I know about Jessica. I know about the money you've been taking. I've gathered all the proof, and tonight your family is here because they're going to hear the truth directly." Cue stunned silence. Tom just stares, his face draining of color. He starts with the cliches, "It's not what it looks like," and "We can talk about this privately." His mom's face goes from confusion to anger to heartbreak as she processes what I'm saying. His dad's jovial expression falls into a scowl. His sister looks like she might be ready to murder him on my behalf. She and I were close. She's flipping her gaze between us with eyes wide. Tom steps toward me, hands up like I'm a skittish animal he needs to calm. "Babe, let's just talk, okay? Not here." I hold up my phone, already cued to the webpage I made. "No. You don't get to hide this. I have receipts, Tom. Literal receipts." And I start reading out a few choice excerpts from my lovely website. I read the flirty text he sent Jessica where he called me an obstacle to his happiness. I read the transaction numbers and dollar amounts he siphoned. I even showed a photo, printed, I had hard copies too, of him and Jessica that I found from her Instagram, cuddled up at that fancy restaurant, time-stamped and all. Tom's mom burst into tears. His dad had this vein bulging in his neck, looking like he might either explode or walk out. He ended up walking out, onto the balcony, probably to cool off. His sister just said, "How could you, Tom?" over and over. Tom himself was a mess. He kept saying sorry, kept reaching out to me, kept trying to justify or explain. The anger I'd held onto hardened inside me. I told him it was over, obviously. I told him I'd already moved my stuff. I had, mostly. That packed suitcase was symbolic. I'd quietly been moving boxes to a friend's place over the past week. The apartment lease was month to month. We'd planned to find a bigger place, and I'd already notified our landlord I'd be moving out. Then I dropped one more bomb. "I'll be pursuing legal action to get back the money you stole from me." I said it as calmly as I could. I'd consulted a lawyer, and while $2,000 isn't a huge amount, it's the principle. I did have proof that those transfers were not authorized by me, and that the joint account was meant for shared expenses. The lawyer said it's likely small claims could get it back for me, or at least scare him into paying it back. At this point, Tom's dad came back in and said maybe the family should leave and let us hash it out. But Tom's mom surprised me. She said, "No. If my name is taking legal action, we should be here to understand the situation. Tom, you need to answer for this." Bless her, she was furious but composed. Tom was crying now. He actually said, "Please don't do this. We can work it out. I'll do therapy. I'll do anything. I love you." I told him love doesn't involve sleeping with someone else and stealing from your partner. His sister chimed in, saying she was ashamed of him. It was intense, to put it mildly. I handed his dad a folder with printed copies of all the evidence. Yes, I went that far. I said, "This is for you all to keep. I'm leaving now." I grabbed my suitcase, and as I went for the door, Tom actually tried to block it, begging me not to go, or at least to talk to him alone. His own dad pulled him aside and said something like, "Let her go, son. You've done enough." And then I left. The whole time walking down the hallway of our building, I was shaking, adrenaline on full blast. When I got to my car, I just sat there and let out a scream cry that probably sounded like a dying animal. The combination of heartbreak, anger, relief that it was over, and just the sheer drama of what I'd done hit me all at once. I spent that night at a friend's place. My stuff was there, and she had wine. We cyberstalked Jessica a bit, saw that her Insta had gone private. Maybe she sensed something, or he warned her. By the next morning, I had a flurry of texts. Some from unknown numbers, maybe his friends, calling me a psycho for airing dirty laundry. But also one from Tom's mom. "I am so sorry you had to go through this. I love you like a daughter, and you will always have a family with us, whatever you need." That one made me bawl. And another from his sister, basically cussing out her brother and offering me a place to stay if I needed it. "What about Tom, you wonder?" He texted and called incessantly. His messages ranged from angry, "How could you involve my family? That was private, you vindictive B*************************** H, to pathetic, "I'm so sorry, please talk to me, I'll do anything." And back to angry, "If you sue me, you're just being spiteful. I'll pay you back, just talk to me." I didn't respond. I let my actions do the talking. I did end up filing a police report for the financial theft. Had to make a record, and a claim in small claims court. I had given Tom a heads up via email, so I wouldn't have to talk to him, that if he repaid me the $2,000 within 1 week, I'd drop the case. He didn't respond, but guess what? 2 days before our court date, I got a check in the mail from Tom for the full amount. Memo line, repayment. A part of me wanted to be petty and still go forward with the case to expose him publicly in court, but honestly, I was tired. I had my money. I had nuked his little world. I heard through his sister that Jessica indeed broke it off with him when she found out I knew everything. Apparently cheating with a taken man was fun until there were real consequences and family involved. And I wanted to move on. So I cashed the check and sent a brief email stating that since he paid, I wouldn't pursue further legal action, but that he was not to contact me ever again except for strictly necessary logistical matters. We still had to officially end our lease, divide a couple of joint assets like the crappy old couch, etc. His reply was basically a long apology and more pleading for forgiveness. I ignored it. In the aftermath, I did hear from his mother a few more times. She even invited me to Thanksgiving, which I declined. Super sweet of her, but so awkward. I suspect their family gatherings are not fun for him right now. Apparently, his dad tore into him after I left that night, and they're extremely disappointed. I doubt Jessica's in the picture anymore, and as far as I know, he's living by himself in that apartment since I left. As for me, I'm okay. It's been a roller coaster, but I have an amazing support network of friends and even my ex's family, weirdly enough, helping me through. I've gotten tested. PSA, always do that after a cheating revelation. Thankfully, I'm all clear. I'm also financially stable. In fact, with the joint account closed out, I realized I can actually afford a slightly nicer place on my own, and I moved into a new apartment across town. New beginnings and all that. Looking back, I do feel a twinge of, wow, that was a lot, about how I exposed him. Some might say I went too far airing the dirty laundry to his family, but I don't regret it. They deserve to know the kind of person he is, and he deserved the humiliation after what he put me through. No perfect resolution here. I'm not some superhero, and I didn't come out of it with a smile. I came out with scars, trust issues, and a newfound appreciation for honest communication, and for keeping an eye on my bank accounts. But I also came out of it with my self-respect intact. I didn't roll over. I stood up for myself and got back what was mine. TLDR. My boyfriend of 3 years cheated on me and stole about $2,000 from our joint account to fund his side chick. I gathered evidence, created a secret webpage detailing his cheating and stealing, and then showed it to his entire family in a dramatic confrontation. I moved out, filed to get my money back, and he eventually paid me in full to avoid legal trouble. His family is furious with him, and supportive of me, ironically. We're done for good. I've moved on, literally moved to a new place, and while I'm still healing emotionally, I have zero regrets about exposing him for the lying, cheating thief he is. Update 1. A couple of weeks have passed, and the dust is starting to settle. I didn't plan to update, but a few significant things happened after the blow-up. Firstly, I did get my money back, as I mentioned in the original post. The small claims case was dropped once his check cleared. I haven't heard from Tom directly since then, and I hope it stays that way. However, I did hear more through the grapevine, aka his sister, who has basically switched allegiances and checks in on me every few days. She's honestly become a good friend through this. According to his sister, Tom is in pretty rough shape. Not to inspire pity, he earned it. But apparently he's been staying with his parents some nights because being in the apartment we shared is too depressing for him now. Oh, the irony of his self-inflicted wounds. His mom told me, yes, I talked to her too, that Tom admitted everything to them after I left. He confessed to the cheating, the stealing, all of it. I'm told there was a lot of yelling and maybe even a few things thrown. Yikes, drama. Karen, his mom, made him show her the website I made, which I had password protected after the confrontation. I decided to lock it so it wouldn't accidentally get spread around. I only ever wanted his family and him to see it. She told me she needed to see for herself the extent of his betrayal. Oof. On that front, I decided to take the site down entirely after confirming they'd seen enough. No need to leave it up. I feel a bit better knowing it's not out there living on the internet, even if it was private. Now about Jessica. Oh, Jessica, the office mistress, who thought she was so clever. I was very curious what happened with her. At first I had no contact, and decided to just let karma do its thing. But it turns out, I didn't have to wait long. One of my friends still follows Jessica's not-so-private Instagram. Jessica doesn't know her, so she didn't block her or anything. And guess what showed up on her story? A picture of a smashed windshield with the caption, "When you mess with the wrong BTCH." A little bit of social media sleuthing, and a quick text exchange with Tom's sister, and we pieced it together. Jessica's car got vandalized. I can't say for sure who did it, and I was worried for a second someone might think it was me. But I was at work with alibis at the likely time. My best guess? One of Tom's friends, or maybe a scorned ex of Jessica's, who knows what lies he told to others about the situation. Tom's sister hinted that some of the boys are pretty mad at him on your behalf, and that things got rowdy over the weekend. I don't condone property damage, but I admit I laughed a bit, imagining Jessica's face. That said, I'm staying out of that mess, not my circus, not my monkeys. Emotionally, I've been up and down. Some days I feel triumphant, like I took control and kicked ass. Other days I feel this heavy sadness, like a sludge in my chest. 3 years isn't forever, but it's not nothing. I miss the routine of having someone who I thought cared around. Little things, like binge-watching our favorite show or his stupid way of folding towels. Then I remind myself that person was a facade, or at least deeply flawed. It's like grieving someone who died, except he's not dead. He's just a jerk. Therapy has been a godsend. I've had 2 sessions so far, and it's freeing to spill all this to a neutral party. She's helping me work through the betrayal trauma and trust issues. I know I might have some in my next relationship, if and when I'm ready for that. Oh, speaking of trust, I froze my credit as a precaution and double-checked all my accounts. No new surprises, thank goodness. I also learned, from the lawyer friend, that since I had Tom's repayment in writing, the check memo and an email he sent saying, "I'll pay you back," it's basically an admission of guilt. So if he ever tried to flip the script or something, he's kinda legally screwed. Not that I think he will, but the paranoid part of me feels better with that knowledge. Tom's mom, Karen, and I got coffee last week at her request. It was surprisingly nice. She apologized to me profusely, and even returned a few gifts I had given Tom over the years, saying, "These mean nothing to him now, and maybe you can sell or donate them." It was sort of cathartic, like reclaiming things. We parted on good terms. She told me I'm one of the strongest young women she knows. Her exact words, "Strength with grace, dear. You handled this with more grace than I think I could have." That made me tear up. She said their family would always be there for me. I told her I'd be taking space from all things Tom for a while, but that I appreciated her a lot. We haven't spoken since, and I likely won't for the foreseeable future. It's just too weird while I'm trying to move on. One more thing. A few of you messaged, warning me to watch out for retaliation from Tom. I'll admit I was on edge the first week, half expecting him to show up at my door or something. But aside from the barrage of initial texts and calls, which have stopped, likely due to some combination of him being drained or maybe his family making him stop, there's been nothing. Maybe he knows he's lost and has no leg to stand on. I did change my locks, just in case. Landlord helped. And I have a camera doorbell now. Prepared for worst, hoping for the best, etc.